8 p.m. Eastern Time. Polls have been closed across all of Indiana for an hour, some places 2 hours. This was our first projection at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Donald Trump, the winner of the Republican primary in Indiana. Here's the three-way finish. Trump, then Cruz, then Kasich by a long shot. A big defeat here by Ted Cruz, the campaign late in the game telling reporters they didn't expect to win. And here's the race we're watching tonight. Same state, different party. Democratic primary too close to call in Indiana. Looks like it's going to be for a while as the two candidates. Sanders vaguely in the lead, separated by just under 9,000 votes. We've had a lot of news in this past hour, and we've heard from, among other people, the Kasich campaign.
That's right. The Kasich campaign put out a statement tonight. They came in a distant third place tonight in Indiana, and that is partly where John Kasich is used to being in this campaign. He did have a special relationship with the state of Indiana, though, in that he and Ted Cruz made kind of a non-aggression pact. Cruz said that Kasich would be given a free hand to run in the states of Oregon and New Mexico, and in turn, Kasich would basically clear out of Indiana and make room for Cruz and Trump to go one-on-one in that state. And the deal was probably a bad idea. Most respondents in the NBC News poll said that they didn't like the idea of that kind of a deal. The voters in Indiana didn't like it. But it definitely did result in Kasich pulling some of his resources out of Indiana, came in a distant third, and his campaign has just put out a statement saying, and I quote, "Tonight's results are not going to alter Governor Kasich's campaign plans. Our strategy has been and continues to be one that involves winning the nomination at an open convention." The statement goes on, Governor Kasich will remain in the race until a candidate reaches 1,237 bound delegates before the convention. They also say the future of the Republican Party and America is at stake. Governor Kasich will not simply give up. So, I mean, because Kasich didn't really compete in Indiana, I don't think there was any expectation that a bad result tonight like he's had would result in him leaving the race. They're clarifying that is not what's going to happen. Ted Cruz, though, had portrayed Indiana as almost a must-win. Ted Cruz is in Indiana tonight. He spent a ton of money, millions of dollars in that state. He really went for it with everything he had. We are expecting to hear from him this hour, and I do think there's some suspense as to what Ted Cruz will say. He went all in Indiana and seems to have lost really badly.
After Ted Cruz, in the loose way these campaigns have of coordinating these things, we will turn our attention to Trump Tower in Midtown Manhattan, and we will hear from Donald Trump. And as a great man once said, it's the time of the season for tabloid covers like this. Tomorrow's New York Post, Who's Your Daddy? Which brings us somehow to Chris Matthews in Washington. Chris?
How great that it would end on a tabloid cover that Donald Trump is going to win the nomination of the Republican Party. And I was thinking how historic it is, whether you like it or not. A lot of people have strong opinions on both sides, certainly. Donald Trump is the first person to come in from outside the Republican Party. He was never really active in party ventures, never ran for office before, came in and basically pulled off a takeover. Hostile, perhaps, in some cases, but a definite takeover. This hasn't happened since a couple of party elders back in 1952, Henry Cabot Lodge, a few others, Tom Dewey, brought in the man who won the war in Europe, Dwight Eisenhower, who came in and took over the party. And very much like that. This is a total takeover of the party. In the next couple of weeks, Reince Priebus, the chairman of the party, is going to have to deal with Trump as the presumed nominee. It'll become official at some point, and he's going to have to deal with him in terms of how the convention is run. Of course, Donald Trump will get to pick the running mate. He will go into the general election. I have no idea what's coming next after that. I think about the debates. They're very sober. Someone like Gwen Ifill will probably be the moderator. There'll be no applause in the audience. Very sober, very quiet. How does Donald Trump perform in an environment where shtick has no value, where comedy has no value, stand-up ability has no value, simply the ability to argue points back and forth with a moderator and not a sound in the room? What's that going to be like? I think it's going to seem presidential. Will Trump be able to identify and adapt to that? I'm thinking ahead, guys. I'm thinking ahead because this is so astounding what's happened. I don't think anybody really thought Donald Trump would be the nominee of the Republican Party a year ago. We all thought he had something. We never thought it was enough to win the whole ball game. And now he has. And that's history that's been made tonight. I think Indiana was the night he won this thing. And from now on, it's going to be different. However, one last point. I think that he did do damage permanently to Ted Cruz and their relationship, such as it is. I don't think Cruz will ever be back with Trump. I think we're going to see that tonight. I think you're going to see a real fight tonight from Cruz. Angry, indignation. His family has been attacked. His wife, his father. This is very personal. I think scorched earth will pay a price here tonight. I think Trump will lose a man he could have used in the general election tonight, and that's Ted Cruz. Back to you guys.
That's a provocative point. Let's run it past Hallie Jackson.